City people ruin small towns, not necessarily all of them, mind you. There are some who move to them and embrace the atmosphere and culture they have, who want to change nothing about them, and those, I have no quarrel with at all. I'm more referring to the ones who are basically moving to them to escape the mess of the cities they've helped create. Now, most small towns are more or less perpetually frozen in time. There may be newer cars and trucks moving through the streets, but aside from that, you could easily mistake still being in the mid to late 20th century. And that's the way many of us who live here like it. We like the old-style atmosphere, the fact that nothing really changes, the quiet, peaceful air they have. We like the mom-and-pop shops and garages owned by the same families for almost 80 to 100 years, the local coffee shops and small malls and bookstores, and on the coasts, the long-lived fishing docks and plants. We don't care for high-priced chain stores or coffee shops like Starbucks or any of that fluff. Now, not all like that, but those who don't simply move away to a place they like better, and we're fine with that. You live how you want where you do, and we'll keep to ourselves. That is, until the type of city folk I mentioned above decide to flee to small towns. They don't integrate. They have no connection to the small town lifestyle, and they have no connection to the place's history, and thus care nothing for preserving it. They bulldoze historic buildings that are not under preservation status yet for the ugly modern aesthetics they created in the cities. They force the mom-and-pop shops out of business by bringing in the very high-end and high-price chain stores and coffee shops none of us wanted. They end up raising the prices of houses and apartment rent, forcing many of the families who grew up for generations in them out. They fundamentally change the town forever by changing the laws and regulations through sheer mass in their votes. They effectively destroy how it used to be and create a mini-version of the place they just left. And what could be the worst part of the whole ordeal? They stare with upturned noses at those of us who were here either our whole lives or long stretches of it. They have the air of superiority of being upper-class city dwellers, self-assured in the knowledge that they are better than us backwards plebeians. They scoff and say with smug expressions that they're making the place better, that they know best. And how could anyone possibly want to live the way the town was for decades or longer before they showed up? Until, that is, they effectively wreck the area and begin complaining about the same things they had before they came here, and go to another place yet untouched by them to start the process all over again. So, yeah, city people absolutely ruin small towns with their mindsets and changes. And personally, I think they should stay in their cities and deal with the consequences of what they brought down on their own heads. Not everyone wants to live like you do. One of my favorite stories is the couple from Northern California who moved to rural Georgia and bought land just next to my brother-in-law's land. There's a massive pig farm on the NorCal folks' opposite side which, if you know anything about pig farms, stink to the high heavens, especially in hot Georgia summer heat. So this couple built this massive McMansion while living elsewhere, finally move in, and realize what it's like living next to a pig farm. They then tried to get the county to disband the pig farm because the smell was noxious and dangerous, and when the county didn't do fuck all, tried to sue the pig farm owners to get it shut down, instead. Long story short, they lost, split off and sold most of the land for hella cheap to my brother-in-law, and now there's an ugly-ass McMansion sitting empty in the middle of rural Georgia for damn near 2 years LMAO. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Op said, city folk, bulldoze old building and bring in high-end shops etc. That's not city folk, that's big business, and the only way they can do that is working with the city planning, government etc. So blame your towns for wanting more and wanting to bring in newer wealthier people. Not trying to discount what some assholes do when they move to small towns, but I feel like this Reddit post could have been written by a side character in a Hallmark movie. A friend of mine way out in rural Montana always tells me to keep it a secret how nice where they live is before us city people come and fuck it up. Edit. It's not actually in Montana, but by all means feel free to fuck Montana up if it throws you off the trail. Except the coffee shops wouldn't stay if people actually didn't like them and spend money there. If the mom-and-pop shop closed down because a fancy chain of retail came into town, then how can you say the townsfolk don't like it? That makes no sense to me. It was the best of times, it was the blurst of times. Have you ever even visited a small town? I grew up in a small town. I watched all of the mom and pop stores be shut down when Walmart moved into the next town over in the 90s. Everyone's also online and angry just like everywhere else. It's not some idyllic 20th century utopia frozen in time like you're making it out to be. No, big city people are moving to small towns because there's no work there. The only people who don't get out once they graduate high school are the ones who either don't go to college or work in a factory or some other local thing. Suburbs are different. But suburbs are vastly different than small towns, and they have a huge amount of demographic churn based on industry and other factors, and pretty much always have. I have found that small towns of isolated people are unable to welcome newcomers who try to live in the same way. My partner works for the government and was transferred to a small town. We were ostracized and excluded. Could not find any sense of community and were the target of rumors, discrimination and contempt. It was the longest time of our lives. We both fled with severe depression. Fast forward to a small town in Minnesota. We love it here. So much to do, people are amazing. Never, ever, going back to Oregon. Greater than they force the mom and pop shops out of business by bringing in the very high-end and high-price chain stores and coffee shops none of us wanted. If none of you wanted those new shops, why would the mom and pop shops be forced out of business? If no one really wants those new shops, they wouldn't go to them, right? Screw that. Coming from a rural living person, growing up to be an adult where the near only work in the entire area is Walmart or McDonald's, trust me when I saw rural living sucks. You make way less, and stuff costs less, but it's the same everywhere. Can't move because you don't make enough money, can't make enough money because Walmart and McDonald's pays $8 an hour. Education is lower quality too. Rural towns are a trap unless you're 60 and well established, but if you're young you are boned AF. They took her jobs. What I enjoy about posts like this is its romanticized bigotry. How small we talking? 100? Or 20,000? What is small? SD has plenty small towns of couple 100 but no city folk are running there to bulldoze mom and pop. BC mom and pop went out of business. BC everyone drives 20 minutes to the large town with the Walmart and the Fleet Farm or the Runnings. Whatever you are suggesting exists frozen in time that city folk are coming in probably isn't small. It's probably growing. And your elected officials are trying to make it grow for increased capital and paved for a company to put something there. Microsoft hubs, Amazon facilities, oil pipeline, something is bringing them there. So it's not the city people ruining it. Its forces bring people there to begin with. Unless you're talking satellite burbs that are still close to the city for a commute. And if that's the case then you're a faux small town because you still go into the city within an afternoon. Long and winded way of saying fuck gentrification lol. Ah yes, the small towns where the two jobs are Amazon and Walmart. This is all based on the unproven assumptions that cities are wrecked and small towns are perfect as they are. Assumes city dwellers who move to small towns are upper class. Assumes they look down on rural residents. And that city dwellers are fleeing, ignoring even whimsy as a motivation for moving. But sure. Upper-class city dwellers who move to small towns in order to look down on the plebs and import Starbucks and bulldoze historical buildings for modern glass cubes. Suck. Why are you blaming layfolk for the decisions of large corporations? Honestly, I used to like small towns. However, they now almost all look the same. You can tell how big the population is based on the number of a McDonald's. B. CVS or chain drugstore. C. Dollar stores. D. Miscellaneous fast food empires. E. Empty strip malls. F. The worst of the worst, Walmart. If your small town already has a Walmart, you're full of shit. Everything I read in your post is the fault of corporate America, not people choosing to live in small towns.